they kept trying to like argue with me, and I was just like, bro, bro.
Just when you thought celebrity drama had hit its maximum capacity, Chrisean Rock kicked the door off the hinges and said, "Nah, we're not done yet." What started as another messy headline suddenly turned into a full-blown Hollywood-style scandal, the kind that makes reality TV look like a calm yoga retreat. According to whispers flying faster than a leaked group chat screenshot, Chrisean didn't just talk, she detonated. Names were named, lines were crossed, and the internet immediately grabbed popcorn like this was a Netflix doc dropping at midnight. Sources claim these weren't vague set tweets or emotional rants either. These were bold, reckless. Headline ready. Claims that had fans rubbing their eyes like, wait, did she really just say that? And when Keke Palmer and Blueface got pulled into the blast radius. That's when everything went from messy to historic. This wasn't shade. This was a solar eclipse of chaos. If this story were a movie, the warning label would say inspired by real events, but somehow even messier. And trust me, by the end of this breakdown, you're going to understand why people are saying this drama makes the Kardashians look like background extras. Buckle up, because what allegedly came out of Chrisean's mouth feels less like gossip and more like a secret that was never supposed to escape. To understand why this moment hit like a sonic boom across the internet, you have to understand one simple truth: Chrisean Rock doesn't whisper. She never has. She lives loud, reacts louder. And when she feels cornered, she doesn't look for exits. She flips the entire building upside down. This scandal didn't begin with a press release or a carefully worded statement. It started the way all modern chaos does, with tension, silence, and the feeling that something ugly was about to spill whether anyone was ready or not. For weeks, fans had been clocking strange energy, subtle changes in tone, weird pauses during interviews, likes disappearing, comments getting deleted. The kind of digital behavior that makes people say something's off, but nobody knows exactly what. And in celebrity culture, off usually means a storm is forming somewhere. Behind the scenes, Chrisean, according to people close to her, felt like narratives were being shaped without her consent, like her story was being edited by people who weren't living it. That's when the alleged leak happened. Not a polished expose, not a structured breakdown, just raw, chaotic claims dropped with the grace of a bowling ball falling down a staircase. The kind of statements that don't come with receipts up front, but don't sound accidental either. And the internet instantly smelled blood in the water. The shock wasn't just what was said. It was who was named, because once Keke Palmer's name entered the conversation, everything changed. This wasn't just reality TV chaos anymore. This was mainstream celebrity collision. The type of crossover nobody had on their bingo card. Fans immediately froze like, wait, how did she get pulled into this? And that's when speculation went from zero to reckless. Chrisean allegedly implied that not everyone in Hollywood is as innocent as their public image suggests. No direct accusations, just enough smoke to make people assume there had to be fire somewhere. And in internet logic, smoke is basically a confession. Suddenly, every past interaction, every clip, every smile was being reinterpreted like a suspicious text message at 3 a.m. Then came Blueface, because of course he did. At this point, his involvement in chaos feels less like coincidence and more like tradition. According to the claims floating around, Chrisean suggested that certain situations involving him were manipulated, exaggerated, or strategically framed to make her look unstable while others walked away clean. That idea alone sent fans spiraling. Because if there's one thing people love more than drama, it's the possibility that they've been lied to. Old interviews resurfaced like zombies. Clips people ignored before suddenly felt telling. Fans started saying things like, why did we never notice this before? And this hits different now, which is internet code for, we're about to rewrite history based on vibes. The first wave of reactions was chaotic disbelief. People laughed it off at first, treating it like another Chrisean moment, emotional, exaggerated, and temporary. But then the second wave hit. The one where people stop laughing and start listening. Because the claims didn't sound random. They sounded frustrated, personal, like someone who had been biting their tongue for way too long and finally snapped. Meanwhile, Chrisean didn't immediately follow up. No clarifications, no apologies, no frantic explanations, just quiet. And in celebrity scandals, silence is never empty. Silence is fuel. It lets everyone project their own theories onto the situation. It allows rumors to stretch, mutate, and evolve into something way bigger than the original statement. Fans split into camps almost instantly. One side said she was finally telling her truth and exposing how the industry chews people up and spits them out. The other side accused her of clout chasing, dragging respected names into mess for attention. And then there was the third group. The most dangerous one, the people who didn't know what to believe but were deeply entertained by the chaos. Social media turned into a pressure chamber. Every post became evidence. Every emoji got analyzed like it was a coded message. People weren't just reacting anymore, they were investigating. TikTok creators started stitching timelines together like amateur detectives who skipped sleep but never missed a notification. Twitter users wrote threads longer than college essays. Reddit users debated motives like this was a courtroom drama. With no judge, and through it all, the question kept echoing, why now? Why drop this bomb at this exact moment? Some believe Chrisean felt pushed into a corner by narratives she couldn't control anymore. Others think something behind the scenes forced her hand. And then there are those who believe she simply reached her limit. Because when someone feels unheard long enough, eventually they stop caring how loud they get. What made this situation even messier was the lack of immediate denial. No quick shutdown. No aggressive PR statements, just waiting and waiting. In the internet age is deadly. Every minute without a response feels like confirmation to someone. And every hour gives rumors time to grow legs and start running marathons. People close to Chrisean claim she felt betrayed, not just by individuals, but by the entire machine. The blogs, the fans, the narratives that painted her as reckless while excusing everyone else's behavior. According to them, this wasn't about revenge, it was about refusing to be the villain in a story she didn't write. And that's what made part one of this saga so dangerous. It wasn't clean. It wasn't clear. It was messy, emotional, and unresolved. The worst kind of scandal. The kind that doesn't fade after 24 hours. The kind that invites follow-ups, reactions, and retaliation. Because once claims like this are out in the open, they don't disappear. They linger, they hang over every interview, every appearance, every silence. And as the internet kept refreshing, one thing became painfully obvious. This wasn't going to stay quiet. The gasoline truck flipping over and exploding in slow motion while everyone filmed it in 4K. Because once the internet fully caught wind of Chrisean's claims, this stopped being a story and turned into a cultural event, not a discussion, not a debate. A full-scale digital riot where everyone had an opinion, nobody had patience, and logic clocked out early. Within hours, timelines were unrecognizable. Every scroll felt like entering a different alternate universe where everyone suddenly became an expert on body language, industry politics, and hidden motives. Memes appeared faster than official statements, jokes were flying, theories were mutating, and people were treating this scandal like the Super Bowl of mess. And the craziest part, nobody even knew the full details, yet Keke Palmer's name trending. Alongside chaos broke people's brains. For many fans, it felt illegal, like mixing holy water with gasoline. The internet has a very specific box for her. And Chrisean's claims smashed straight through it. Suddenly, old interviews were being rewatched with suspicious squints. Past jokes were being reinterpreted as coded messages. People started saying things like, "I always felt something was off," which is internet slang for, "I didn't think this yesterday, but I'm thinking it very loudly today." Meanwhile, Blueface memes reached historic levels. His face was everywhere, photoshopped into situations he never asked to be in. People joked that if Chaos were a subscription service, his name would be auto-renewed every month. But beneath the jokes, something darker was happening. The narrative around him started shifting. Fans began asking whether Chrisean had been framed as the problem while his actions were softened or ignored. That question alone made the conversation uncomfortable. TikTok became ground zero. Creators stitched videos together like they were solving a cold case that dropped yesterday. One clip would show an old interview. Another would cut to a suspicious pause. Another would add dramatic music and a caption like, "Tell me I'm wrong." And the comments would explode with thousands of people saying, "Wait a minute." It didn't matter if the logic made sense. It mattered that it felt convincing. Twitter, on the other hand, turned vicious. This is where sarcasm sharpened into knives. One-liners went viral faster than explanations. People weren't asking questions anymore. They were picking sides, and once sides are chosen, facts become optional. Threads accused, defended, mocked, and predicted outcomes like this was a scripted series instead of real lives unraveling in public. Celebrities started reacting without reacting. Likes here, follows there, a random tweet about truth or healing that could mean anything or nothing. And of course, the internet treated every vague post like a confession. Silence wasn't neutral. It was suspicious and vague positivity. That was practically an admission in the court of Twitter. What really escalated things was the rumor mill. Alleged insiders suddenly appeared everywhere. I know someone who knows someone. This has been an open secret. Y'all don't even know half of it. Statements like that poured fuel on the fire without providing a single verifiable detail. And yet, people ate it up because uncertainty is more entertaining than clarity. Chrisean's silence during this phase felt deliberate, almost strategic. Every hour she didn't speak made her original claims feel heavier. It forced everyone else to fill in the gaps, and the internet is terrible at filling gaps responsibly. Fans started projecting entire storylines onto her words. Some framed her as a whistleblower, others painted her as reckless, and some saw her as both at the same time. Then came the outrage economy. Content creators who hadn't mentioned Chrisean in months suddenly had hour-long breakdowns ready. Titles screamed about Hollywood lies and industry manipulation. Monetization met speculation, and the views rolled in. This scandal wasn't just drama anymore, it was profitable. What made this phase so unhinged was how fast empathy evaporated. People forgot there were real humans involved. It became about winning arguments, getting likes, and being the first to say "I told you so." Every update, no matter how small, was treated like a bombshell. Even non-updates felt explosive. And still, no clear denials, no calm explanations, just mounting pressure. Publicists were probably screaming into pillows, phones were buzzing non-stop, and fans were refreshing feeds like addicts waiting for the next hit. The tension was unbearable, and that's exactly why people couldn't look away. The wildest part, none of this required confirmation. The spectacle had outgrown the facts. It didn't matter what was true anymore. What mattered was perception. And perception had already sprinted ahead, dragging reputations behind it. By the end of this phase, one thing was clear. The situation was too big to quietly disappear. Someone was going to have to speak, because the longer this dragged on, the more damage it caused. And when the silence finally breaks, it never does so gently. By the time the dust started settling, one thing became painfully clear. Nothing was going back to normal. The internet doesn't rewind, it doesn't forget, it doesn't forgive on a schedule. Once a narrative escapes into the wild, it grows teeth. And this one had already taken a few bites out of reputations before anyone could even agree on what was real. The aftermath didn't arrive with a dramatic confession or a neatly packaged explanation. It arrived quietly, which somehow made it louder. Interviews felt tense, appearances looked stiff, smiles didn't quite reach the eyes anymore. Every move was scrutinized like it might contain a hidden message, and the longer people avoided Addressing the elephant in the room, the bigger that elephant got. For Chrisean, the consequences were complicated. On one hand, her supporters doubled down. They praised her for speaking her truth and refusing to play the industry's favorite role, the quiet, grateful, compliant star. They saw her as someone who finally pulled the curtain back, even if she didn't explain every detail. To them, the chaos was proof that she touched a nerve. On the other hand, critics sharpened their knives. They accused her of recklessness, of dragging people into a mess without receipts, of setting fires and walking away from the smoke. And that split never healed. It hardened, because once people choose a version of the story that makes them feel right, they cling to it like it's oxygen. Nuance didn't survive this scandal. Subtlety didn't stand a chance. Everything became extremes: hero or villain, victim or manipulator. There was no room for "it's complicated," even though that was probably the most accurate answer. For the others caught in the blast radius, the damage was quieter but heavier. Public perception shifted in small, unsettling ways. Fans started questioning things they never questioned before. Interactions that once felt harmless now felt strategic. Silence, once considered classy, started feeling evasive. And even when people tried to move forward, the shadow of the claims followed them like an unskippable ad. Brand deals didn't disappear overnight, but conversations changed, the tone shifted. Risk assessments got rewritten because controversy doesn't need proof to scare corporations. It just needs noise, and this situation had plenty of that. The kind that makes boardrooms nervous and PR teams sweat through their suits. What made it worse was the lack of closure. No final statement, no definitive timeline, no clear villain monologue. Just a lingering sense that something unfinished was sitting beneath the surface. And unfinished stories are dangerous. They invite speculation. They breed conspiracy. They keep comment sections alive long after the headlines fade. Fans kept asking for clarity, but clarity never came. Instead, there were hints, vague posts about growth, cryptic captions about healing, quotes about truth rising on its own time. The kind of content that sounds profound but explains nothing. And of course, the internet treated every one of those posts like a breadcrumb on a twisted trail. As weeks passed, the outrage softened into suspicion. The loud arguments quieted, but the questions remained. People stopped yelling and started watching, waiting. Because scandals like this don't end, they hibernate. And everyone knows that eventually, something wakes them back up. What's fascinating is how quickly the culture moved on while never fully letting go. New drama popped up. New villains took center stage, but this story stayed bookmarked in people's minds, a reference point. I remember when waiting to be weaponized. Next time someone slipped up. And that's the real aftermath. Not cancellations, not apologies, not viral breakdowns. It's the permanent change in how people are seen. Once doubt enters the chat, it never leaves. It just whispers in the background, waiting for the next moment to speak up again. For Chrisean, the future looks unpredictable. Some see a woman unfiltered and unafraid. Others see a walking headline generator. Both can be true. And in an industry that thrives on spectacle, unpredictability is either your biggest asset or your fastest downfall. What this saga proved is simple and unsettling. Celebrity images are fragile. One moment, you're untouchable. The next, you're trending for reasons nobody can fully explain. And once the internet decides to rewrite your story, you don't get editorial control. The most chilling part is that nothing feels resolved. No one really won. No one really lost. The drama didn't explode. It seeped into timelines, into perceptions, into the collective memory of pop culture. And that's far more dangerous than a loud scandal that burns out quickly, because this feels like the kind of situation that doesn't end with a bang. It ends with a callback, a future interview, a leaked message. A careless comment months from now that suddenly makes everything feel relevant again. And there it is, another celebrity saga that started with whispers, spiraled into chaos, and ended with more questions than answers. If you're sitting there thinking, there's no way this is over, congratulations, you're paying attention. Because stories like this don't disappear, they reload, they respawn. They come back louder, messier, and somehow even more unbelievable the second time around. Now let me ask you something. Do you think Chrisean said too much or not enough? Was this a calculated move, a breaking point, or just another chapter in the never-ending circus of fame? Drop your take in the comments and don't hold back. Argue, debate, disagree violently. But respectfully, this comment section is basically the after party where the real drama happens. If this breakdown had you glued to the screen, smash that like button like it owes you rent money and just dodged your calls. Hit subscribe like you already know tomorrow's headlines are about to be worse. And turn on notifications because scandals don't send warning texts before they blow up. They just happen. And we're always first on the scene. This channel doesn't do quiet, we don't do safe, we don't do sugarcoating, we break down the mess, roast the nonsense, and connect the dots nobody wants connected. If celebrity chaos is your guilty pleasure, congratulations, you're home. Because let's be real, the internet never sleeps, Hollywood never learns. And the next meltdown is already loading as we speak. Stick around, stay curious, and remember, when the headlines start screaming, celeb insanity is where the truth gets loud.